Should we let a non-renewable resource control our destiny? We need to break our oil addiction and find alternatives. The major car manufacturers control the direction for the need of fossil fuel and are not fully engaging alternatives for the immediate population. Oil dependency can lead to a global crash of the economy. A production shortage of 10 to 15% is enough to reduce a culture to poverty. The bloodline of transportation is heavily dependent on oil. First, we need to see how big of a problem we have. So we need to recognize just how much our addiction is on oil. Oil is much more than just fuel in our car. Oil powers plants that produce a majority of consumer goods. Approximately 10 calories of fossil fuels are required to produce 1 calorie of food eaten in the U.S. The pesticides and agrochemicals used for the food are made from oil. Most farming implements, such as tractors and trailers, are constructed and powered using oil-derived fuels. As more and more oil is pumped from the ground, it brings us closer to emptying the bucket. Displayed behind me is a graph that is based on the peak oil movement estimates for how much recoverable oil exists in the world. This is information from ExxonMobil and estimates how much will be found in the future, placing oil's production's peak at 2008. What we see right here in the dark green is past discoveries of the oil, and with the light green here showing what's possible future discoveries. This black line represents the production we have from our current oil. During the 1970s oil shocks, shortfalls in production as small as 5% caused the price of oil to nearly quadruple. Once oil production hit its peak and begin its decline, production will drop conservatively by 3% per year every year. Displayed now is a graph showing the world oil production starting in the 1900s, and as we see, as more oil is being found, the increase right here, and then it tops out in 2005 if this was to be the peak year, and then you see the gradual descent. The thing is, though, is that the global demand for oil is still going higher and higher. If a 5% drop in production caused prices to triple in the 1970s, what do you think a 50% or 75% drop is going to do? Once the demand for oil is overwhelming, war can break out. Public needs can overpower economists to tap remaining oil in park reservations. Countries can go to war seizing oil from smaller nations. Knowing how deep we are in, we have to find an alternative to get out. Switching to non-oil dependent vehicles can start the path for prosperity. Transportation takes up to 2/3 of the oil that is pumped. Cars that use less oil can save the oil for other needs. The last remaining oil should be used to develop the next generation of renewable energy sources. Car manufacturers are producing higher fuel-efficient vehicles. With more efficient engines, they go back into some impractical vehicles, such as large trucks and SUVs. By producing smaller vehicles, we get to deal with less. Smaller vehicles with engines that don't rely on oil will help society to understand the need for less. Understanding the big picture is the first step in making right decisions. And the decisions today can ensure the future of our generation and the next. Car manufacturers need to provide immediate relief for our oil addiction with zero-emission cars.